Okay, so you're looking to get up to speed on something important and fast, right? We all are. Time's short.
Definitely. There's so much happening.
Well, today we're diving into the really fast changes in AI chatbots, specifically what OpenAI has been up to.
It's moving at lightning speed, isn't it?
It really is. We pulled together some analysis from TechCrunch, OpenAI's own announcements.
Good sources.
Yeah, and the mission for this deep dive is basically to break down what's crucial about these new models like GPT-4.0, which just landed,
Mhm.
and GPT-4.1, which is on the horizon.
How they're changing search, coding, creative work, the big stuff.
Exactly. Consider this your shortcut to grasping this, well, pretty major shift.
It's kind of amazing the pace. Feels like these things were just, I don't know, novelties, and now they're really set to change how we do things online.
Totally. And this GPT-4.0,
Yeah.
its ability to handle text and images in real time, that feels like a big step.
It absolutely is a significant leap.
Okay, let's unpack that multimodal idea a bit more.
Yeah.
What does GPT-4 actually let us do that's, so different?
Well, multimodal basically means it gets and creates not just text, but images too. And it does it smoothly, like right in the same conversation.
So I could, upload a picture and ask about it.
Exactly that. Or you could describe an image you're picturing, and bam, it tries to generate it for you, right there in the chat.
Huh.
It really blurs the lines, between typing and seeing. It signals a pretty fundamental shift in how we interact with info. More intuitive, maybe. More expressive.
That sounds like it could seriously change using our devices. No more jumping between a text app and an image tool, maybe.
Pretty much. This mix of vision, speech, language, it just makes the interaction way more dynamic.
Right.
Simple text questions can suddenly become these richer multimedia back and forths. Imagine sketching something rough, and the AI gets it and builds on it visually.
Wow.
It just opens up possibilities for how we look for information, how we share ideas.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. We're hearing buzz about GPT 4.1 too. What's the deal there? What's coming next?
Right, so GPT 4.1 seems to be more about refining the engine,
Ugh.
core performance boosts.
Like what? Faster.
Yeah, supposedly much faster responses, better at following instructions, like really sticking to what you asked,
Wrong.
and a much, much bigger context window.
Context window.
Yeah.
That'll get its memory, right?
Sort of, yeah. How much information it can hold on to during a single chat. They're talking up to 1 million tokens.
Whoa, okay. 1 million tokens. For those of us not super technical, what does that mean? Practically, like for coding, maybe?
Think of tokens as bits of words. 1 million tokens. That's like, it could remember the context of a whole book you're discussing.
Seriously.
Yeah. And for coding, the early API previews, they suggest some pretty impressive gains. GPT 4.1 seems, well, significantly better at generating code that actually works.
Okay.
And suggesting cleaner edits. Those diffs, the highlighted changes, they seem more targeted.
And is it costing more compute power to do this?
That's the interesting part. Apparently, they're aiming for this performance level while keeping the computational costs the same, maybe even lower.
Okay, so for developers listening,
Yeah.
this could really save time.
Yeah.
Make workflows smoother.
Absolutely. It points towards AI handling more of the, the grunt work coding, maybe. More accurately, anyway.
Right.
Which frees up developers to focus on the harder stuff. Architectural design, complex problems, innovation.
Let's switch gears a bit. Something that affects almost everyone. Search. You mentioned changes there. It sounds like we're moving past just getting a list of blue links.
That's a really key shift, yeah. It's moving from just finding stuff passive retrieval to actively putting it together. Synthesis.
How so?
Instead of just showing pages, these AI chatbots can actually process info from several sources, pull out the main points, and give you recommendations or summaries that fit your question's context.
Ah, so it's more like having a research assistant, someone who reads the stuff for you and gives you the gist.
Exactly, a very efficient one, pulling together relevant info wherever it is.
That could be huge. For students doing research, professionals needing quick insights.
Or even just casual curiosity, right? It could really streamline how we learn and gather information, a big change.
And staying on that streamlining theme, let's go back to software development. You said AI as a copilot. How does that look day to day for a coder?
Well, it's becoming more and more integrated, right into their workflow.
Okay.
Tools like GPT-4.0 and what we expect from 4.1 Developers are using them to generate that repetitive boilerplate code.
The basic setup stuff.
Exactly. Or help find bugs in code they've already written. Or even just quickly look up documentation without leaving their editor.
So it offloads some of the more tedious bits.
Right. The less creative, maybe more time-consuming parts of the job.
It feels like the skill for developers might be changing then. Less about just writing every line and more about guiding the AI effectively.
That's a really sharp observation. I think you're right. The ability to prompt these models well, clear instructions, good structure, it's rapidly becoming as vital as knowing Python or Java.
Right.
And you see that happening. These tools are being built directly into IDEs, the software developers use to write code.
Ah, the integrated development environments.
Exactly. And platforms like GitHub Copilot, the AI is getting embedded deep into the actual coding process.
Okay, moving beyond the tech side,
Mhm.
what about creativity? Writers, designers, artists, how are they using these newer AIs?
Oh, creatives are definitely finding uses,
Yeah.
especially for breaking through creative blocks.
How does that work?
Well, ChatGPT has that memory feature now. It can recall earlier chats, your style preferences, project details.
So it knows what you're working on.
Kind of, yeah. Which makes brainstorming feel much more personalized, more relevant.
Yeah.
Almost like having an AI collaborator who actually remembers the project context.
That could be really useful for keeping momentum, staying in the zone.
Totally. And then there's the built-in image generation we talked about.
Right, the multimodal part again.
Exactly. It took off incredibly fast after launch. People are using it for all sorts of things. Quick concept art, mood boards, maybe social media visuals.
Speeds things up, I guess. Less reliance on separate tools.
Yeah, accelerates ideation significantly.
Didn't I read some crazy numbers about the image generator adoption? Like millions of users right away.
Oh, yeah, it was staggering. Something like over 130 million unique users,
Yeah.
generating, 700 million images in the first week alone?
Wow, that's huge demand.
It really is. It shows the potential people see. Of course, that kind of scale definitely put a strain on OpenAI's systems. They had to scramble to add more GPU power.
Makes sense. So it's not just efficiency. It feels like it's fundamentally changing how we interact with tech day to day. You mentioned voice queries becoming more like dialogues.
Exactly. We're moving past just barking keywords at our phones.
Yeah.
Towards more natural back and forth conversations where the AI actually keeps track of what you've been saying, maintains context.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about AI tutors, adapting how they teach based on how you're learning, your pace, or customer service bots that can handle more complex problems, maybe with more clarity, even a touch of, empathy. Something more human-like anyway.
Which brings up the flip side. All this power, this human-like interaction,
Mm-hmm.
are there downsides? Ethical things we need to watch?
Oh, absolutely. That's a critical piece. The easier it gets to generate text, images, even voice,
Yeah.
the bigger the concerns around, misinformation, deepfakes.
Right. Who owns the content it creates?
Yeah.
Intellectual property issues.
Exactly. And as these AI systems become more persuasive, more personable, there's a real need to balance that engagement with accuracy and transparency.
So we don't end up in echo chambers or just amplified bias.
Precisely. It's a tightrope walk, keeping things helpful and engaging without creating unintended negative consequences. That's going to be a huge ongoing challenge.
Okay, so looking ahead,
Yeah.
what's next on the roadmap for OpenAI and this whole ChatGPT revolution?
Well, from what OpenAI says, they're aiming for even tighter API integrations so developers can build more sophisticated things on top of their models.
Yeah.
There's talk of smaller, specialized nano models, think AI, that could run efficiently right on your phone or laptop, maybe.
Interesting. On-device AI.
Yeah. And of course, a continued focus on safety, alignment, making sure these tools are reliable and behave as expected.
So the overall trend seems pretty clear.
I think so. AI chatbots becoming more and more woven into our daily lives as collaborators, really, across work, learning, creativity.
Right?
As GPT-4.0 evolves towards 4.1 and whatever comes next, these big shifts in how we do things, they're probably just going to speed up.
So quick wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing really rapid, pretty profound changes in search, coding, creative work, all driven by these smarter multimodal AIs from places like OpenAI.
It definitely feels like we're right in the middle of a major transformation. No doubt about it.
Indeed. And it leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? Something to maybe chew on? With this kind of multimodal AI getting deeper into everything we do, how isn't it just changing the tools we use, but maybe fundamentally reshaping our creative processes? Or even how we think about information itself? consuming it, creating it?
That's a deep question.
Mhm.
What new skills, maybe what new ways of thinking become essential in this landscape that's, well, changing so fast?
Exactly, something to ponder.